Build Mental Power and Silence Every Doubt. Written and published by Audiobook Mindset. Introduction. Your mind is not weak, it's just been misused. Every time you hesitate, overthink, or second-guess yourself, it's not because you're not capable, because your mind was never trained to be your ally. You weren't born with self-doubt. It was planted by fear, by failure, by voices that told you you're not enough. But here's the truth. Your mind is not your enemy. It's your most powerful tool. And like any tool, it needs sharpening. It needs discipline. It needs purpose. Today, that changes. This is not just a motivational video. This is your mind's awakening. It's a quiet revolution, a moment where you stop reacting to life and start mastering it. The world has taught you to be loud, to feel powerful. But true mental power, it's silent, controlled, unshakable. You will no longer be ruled by fear, anxiety, or the echo of past mistakes. From this moment on, you take back control, not by force, but by awareness, not by noise, but by clarity. Doubt will scream, fear will knock, but your inner world will not move. This is about rebuilding the foundation, from the way you talk to yourself, to how you respond to adversity, to the belief you hold when no one's watching. This is where everything begins, not out there, but in here. We're not here to hype you up. We're here to wake you up. Let's rebuild your mental power from the inside out, until every doubt is silenced by the strength you carry within. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Master the inner dialogue. Reprogram the voice in your head. Your thoughts shape your identity. They influence your mood, your decisions, and how you show up in every moment of your life. Yet most people don't realize that the voice they hear inside their head each day, the one that constantly comments, criticizes, or doubts, is simply a habit that can be changed. Left untrained, this inner voice often runs wild, feeding you negative stories about yourself. You'll never be good enough. Remember that mistake you made. You're bound to mess up again. What if everyone finds out you're a fraud? When these thoughts dominate, they create a sense of fear, replay past failures like a broken record, and sow seeds of self-doubt with every passing second. To build true mental power, you must first reclaim control of that voice. Notice that I didn't say, shut it up, or ignore it. Suppressing thoughts only makes them stronger, like trying to hold underwater a ball that keeps buoying back up. Instead, you must discipline your inner voice. Discipline doesn't mean being harsh with yourself. It means intentionally guiding your thoughts towards strength, confidence, and possibility. Imagine preparing for a battle. A warrior doesn't simply hope for courage. He trains, conditions his mind, and repeats the right mantras until bravery becomes second nature. In the same way, you need to practice speaking to yourself as if you were giving instructions to a fearless champion, not a timid bystander. Start by identifying your most common negative phrases. If you catch yourself thinking, I can't, immediately pause and reframe it to, I will. If doubt creeps in with, what if I fail? Turn it around to, what if I fly? This isn't about denying reality or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about choosing the story you want to live by. Each time you replace a limiting thought with a powerful, affirming statement, you are literally rewiring the neural pathways in your brain. Neuroscience tells us that our brains are plastic, meaning they can change and adapt based on repeated actions and thoughts. When you consistently feed your mind positive, growth-oriented messages, those messages start to become habitual. Over time, what once felt forced will feel natural. Consider this. When you whisper words like, I'm not good enough, or I always screw things up, your body responds as if you said them out loud. Your heart rate may increase, your muscles tense, and a sense of anxiety washes over you. Conversely, when you tell yourself, "I am capable," or "I have overcome challenges before," your nervous system receives a signal of safety and purpose. You actually begin to feel more calm, more focused, and more determined. This is why self-talk is not an abstract concept, it's a tangible force that programs your entire nervous system. You don't need to wait for someone else to push you forward or validate your worth. External motivation can flicker on and off like a candle in the wind. But internal domination controlling your own mind is like forging a steel rod in the hottest fire. It becomes the unbreakable core of who you are. When fear tries to creep back in, you'll have a practiced response, a mental counterpunch that says, "This doubt has no power here. I choose a different path." Over time, you'll notice that moments which used to paralyze you now become mere obstacles to overcome. Your inner voice, once chaotic and unfocused, becomes your fiercest ally, helping you move forward with confidence, clarity, and unwavering determination. Chapter 2. Build the discipline of thought control. Mental power isn't about filling your head with endless ideas. It's about creating space and clarity where thoughts are meant to be precise, not cluttered. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you plant every random seed that drifts by doubt, worry, regret, distraction, soon your garden becomes overgrown with weeds, choking out the flowers of creativity, focus, and confidence. A powerful mind, however, is like a well-tended garden where only the seeds that matter are allowed to grow. To achieve this, you must build the discipline of thought, control, training your mind to notice, pause, and choose what you think about, rather than allowing every random impulse to take over. Recognize how easily the undisciplined mind jumps from one thought to another. You might start the day thinking about your to-do list, then your mind drifts to a memory of a past mistake, then to a fear of what tomorrow might bring, and then to a random craving for a snack. Each of those thoughts pulls your attention away from what truly matters right now. Over time, this habit of mental bouncing creates stress, indecision, and a constant sense of being overwhelmed. When you live like this, you feel like you can never truly rest or fully engage with any task because your mind is scattered. To break this pattern, begin by catching your thoughts as soon as they arise. Think of yourself as a gentle observer stationed at the entrance to your mind's theater. As soon as a negative or distracting thought shows up, "I'm not prepared for this presentation. What if they reject me?" You don't immediately react or spiral. Instead, you pause. Notice the thought. Label it mentally. "That is a worry." Then, consciously decide whether it deserves your attention. If the thought is unhelpful, meaning it doesn't lead to a productive action or solution, allow it to fade away, like a cloud passing overhead. If the thought is useful, perhaps it reminds you to prepare a little more, capture that actionable part and let go of the rest. This practice of catching and evaluating your thoughts is like lifting weights for your mental muscle. The first few times you try, it will feel exhausting. Your mind will resist, throwing up dozens of random ideas, anxieties, regrets, and fantasies. But with practice, just a few minutes each day of noticing your thinking, you'll begin to recognize patterns. You'll see that certain triggers always produce the same unhelpful thoughts. Maybe talking to a critical coworker, seeing a social media post from someone more successful, or hearing a negative piece of news. Once you identify these triggers, you can equip yourself with pre-planned responses. For instance, when you notice that familiar twinge of "I'll never be as good as them," you can immediately reframe, "They have a different path. I'm focused on mine." Over time, this automatic redirecting becomes second nature. Meditation is often misunderstood as merely a tool for relaxation or clearing your mind. In reality, meditation is training your mind to stay present, to focus on one single point: your breath, a mantra, or the sensation of sitting and notice when it drifts. The moment you notice your mind wandering, you gently guide it back. This exercise of repeatedly noticing distraction and returning to the chosen point is exactly the same exercise you need to control thought in everyday life. Instead of drifting between email, social media, and idle worries, you practice returning your attention to the task at hand, whether it's writing, speaking to someone, or making a decision. To make this more concrete, pick one daily activity, something you do every day, like brushing your teeth or making coffee, and use it as a mini training session. While you brush your teeth, focus entirely on how the toothbrush feels against your teeth and gums, the bristles, the angle, the taste of the toothpaste. Each time your mind wanders to, "Did I lock the door?" or "What's for lunch?" gently bring it back to the simple act of brushing. Do this for about 3 minutes. By practicing this small exercise daily, you strengthen your ability to notice when your mind is off task. Soon, you'll realize you're spending far less time on autopilot and far more time consciously choosing where to focus your energy. Another tool is the one thing principle. Whenever you sit down to work on something important, decide exactly one thing you will focus on. Write it down on a small note and keep that note visible. It could be as simple as draft the introduction to my presentation or outline 5 bullet points for the meeting. Whenever your mind wanders to anything else, checking email, scrolling social media, replaying a mistake, remind yourself of that one thing. Refocus. If you need, set a timer for short intervals, like 15 or 20 minutes, and commit to working on just that one task during that time. After the timer goes off, take a brief break, then come back to the same task for another interval. This method lampoons the myth that multitasking is effective. In truth, powerful thinking emerges when you concentrate on one idea, one goal, and give it your undivided attention. Remember that controlling your thoughts isn't about becoming rigid or emotionless. It's about choosing where to direct your mental energy so you have room for creativity, problem-solving, and genuine engagement with life. When you build this discipline, you'll notice an inner calm. You're no longer at the mercy of every random fear or impulse. Instead, you harness your thoughts like a torch in the dark, own clear beam, cutting through confusion, guiding you straight to what matters. A clear mind is a powerful mind, capable of handling stress, making strong decisions, and creating outcomes far beyond what a distracted mind could ever achieve. Chapter 3. Train yourself to doubt the doubt. Self-doubt is not a reflection of reality. It's a habit that creeps in uninvited, usually when you're on the brink of doing something meaningful. That nagging voice in your head whispers, "You're not ready. What if you fail?" Or, "Maybe this isn't for you." It has no evidence-only volume. In fact, most of the fears you hear in your mind never materialize. Yet because your mind has repeated these negative patterns so often, you've learned to accept doubt as if it were an unavoidable truth. To build mental power, you must flip this habit on its head. Instead of simply believing every negative thought, learn to doubt the doubt itself. Begin by recognizing that every time you feel that familiar twinge of "I can't," "I'm not good enough," or "What if it all falls apart?" you are not witnessing a fact, you're hearing a hypothesis. Your mind is suggesting possibilities, not stating certainties. The first step is to pause and ask, where's the proof behind this thought? For example, if your inner voice says, "You'll embarrass yourself if you speak up," ask, "Show me evidence. Have I spoken up before and failed? Or did I learn something from every attempt?" When you question the basis of doubt, you often discover it rests on shaky ground, sometimes on nothing more than an old fear resurfacing, or on someone else's opinion you internalized long ago. By shining a light on the source of that doubt, you expose its weakness. Next, practice speaking directly to that doubt, out loud or in writing. Imagine a scenario. You're about to pitch a bold idea to your team, but doubt whispers, they'll think it's stupid. Rather than letting that voice drive your actions, stop, breathe. Then respond to your inner critic as if it were a challenger you must defeat. You've been wrong before. Last time I had a similar thought. I ended up growing because I tried. You don't get to decide for me. By addressing doubt in this way, calling it out, exposing its lies, you weaken its grip. With repetition, you'll find it harder for doubt to drown out your confidence because you're no longer owning every fearful thought as truth. It helps to keep a doubt journal for a week. Each time you notice a limiting thought, I can't do this. What if I mess up? Write down exactly what the doubt says, then immediately counter it with a rational response or a reframe. Over time, you'll see patterns. Maybe your mind always sows doubts when you receive criticism or when you're stepping into unfamiliar territory. When you clearly see these patterns, you can predict when doubt will strike and prepare a response in advance. For instance, if every time you send an email to a client your mind cautions, they'll ignore you, you can counter with, clients respond when I provide clear value. Focus on value, not fear. This habit of writing down doubt and disputing it teaches your brain to automatically challenge negative assertions rather than accept them. Remember that, like any skill, training yourself to doubt, the doubt takes consistent practice. Your mind is accustomed to defaulting to fear because that was its early survival mechanism back when unknown dangers were literal threats. Today, most threats are internal opinions, not life or death situations. When you rewire your brain to treat doubt as a suggestion instead of a verdict, you gain enormous freedom. You begin to see doubt as a temporary visitor, not a permanent resident. And when doubt shows up, you have a practiced response, a mental tag team where logic tackles fear before it spins out of control. Celebrate small victories when you successfully override doubt with action. If yesterday you hesitated to share an idea because it wasn't good enough, and today you shared it anyway, give yourself credit. Each time you act despite doubt, you're strengthening a neural pathway of confidence. Soon, positive evidence will accumulate. I succeeded when I thought I couldn't. I learned something new instead of failing, or my contribution was valued. These successes become the ammunition you use the next time doubt resurfaces. Over time, as doubt's volume diminishes and your internal champion grows louder, you'll realize that the only thing standing between you and your goals was the habit of believing doubt. By training yourself to doubt the doubt, you silence its noisy and open the door to genuine, lasting mental power. Chapter 4. Use pain as mental fuel. Pain is not your enemy. It is the forge that strengthens your mind. When life knocks you down, it's easy to believe that suffering is a sign of weakness or a punishment for your mistakes. Yet every person who has built extraordinary mental power has embraced pain as a necessary teacher. Think of pain as a fiery crucible, raw, uncomfortable, even excruciating at times, but capable of producing the hardest, most resilient steel. When you learn to channel your struggles and disappointments, not deny them, into purposeful growth, you transform pain from a paralyzing force into a propellant that pushes you forward. Begin by recognizing that everyone experiences pain, whether it's the sting of rejection, the weight of failure, the ache of loss, or the frustration of unmet expectations. These moments are universal. What separates a mind of weakness from a mind of strength is not the absence of pain, but what you choose to do with that pain. When you encounter hardship, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Shift your question to, what is this building in me? When you reframe pain as a workshop for your mind, you open yourself to learning and growth. Each painful experience becomes evidence that you're alive and that your potential can be refashioned. To harness pain as mental fuel, the first step is to feel it fully. It's tempting to numb yourself through distractions, blame, or avoiding responsibility because pain can be so uncomfortable. But numbing only delays the work your mind needs to do. When you face pain directly, you learn about your emotional triggers, your insecurities, and the stories you tell yourself. For example, if you fail a test, notice how your mind reacts. Does it tell you, "I'm a failure," or "I'll never succeed"? Instead of letting that narrative take root, pause, sit with the disappointment. Acknowledge it. Yes, I feel upset right now because I didn't meet my expectations. By naming the emotion without judgment, you remove its power to destabilize you. You're no longer a victim of how you feel, you're an observer of it. This mindful approach begins the process of converting pain into insight. Use that insight to develop a plan of action. Pain without purpose is simply suffering, but pain with purpose ignites transformation. After you've acknowledged the wound, ask yourself, what lesson can I extract from this? If a relationship ended badly, perhaps you see communication patterns you need to change. If you didn't get the job you wanted, maybe you discover a skill gap to bridge. If you were rejected or criticized, you might realize the importance of resilience and self-trust. Write down these lessons. Turning vague discomfort into concrete takeaways gives your mind something to focus on. This intentional focus redirects energy from "why did this happen to me?" to "how can I become stronger because of this?" Once you have clarity on the lessons, set small, measurable goals that address them. For instance, if failure revealed your lack of preparation, commit to practicing a specific technique every day. If rejection exposed your fear of vulnerability, make it a point to share your ideas openly at least once a week. Each time you follow through on these micro goals, you prove to yourself that pain can be a catalyst rather than a roadblock. Over time, the incremental progress adds up. Your mind learns that discomfort doesn't equal defeat, but rather the prerequisite for mastery. Another powerful way to convert pain into fuel is by reframing your narrative. Instead of telling yourself, "I failed, so I am a loser," say, "I failed, which means I am pushing my limits." Notice the subtle shift. One statement declares a static, negative identity, while the other declares an active process of growth. Language matters because it affects how you feel and what you do next. Practice speaking or writing the positive reframe whenever you catch yourself in self-pity or shame. Keep a journal where you record painful events and immediately follow them with a constructive reframe. As you repeat this exercise, your mind becomes accustomed to seeking opportunity in hardship rather than cowering from it. Physical challenges can also reinforce this mental habit. When you subject yourself to controlled discomfort like cold showers, intense workouts, or practicing difficult tasks you've been avoiding, you teach your brain that you can endure more than you initially believed. That physical discomfort coaxes your mind to adapt. You learn that the burning sensation in your muscles or the shock of cold water is temporary and surmountable. This translates directly to emotional pain. If you can withstand that momentary physical discomfort, you reinforce the belief that you can withstand emotional and mental challenges as well. Gradually, your threshold for tolerating difficulty expands. You become someone who doesn't shy away from pain, but instead welcomes it as part of growth. Keep in mind, too, that sharing your pain with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach can accelerate your transformation. When you try to bear difficult experiences alone, you risk getting stuck in your own head, ruminating on doubts and insecurities. But when you talk through your pain out loud, You gain an external perspective. Others can help you see lessons you might overlook and remind you of your strengths when self-doubt tries to take over. Vulnerability in the right environment becomes a strength, not a weakness. As you open up about your struggles, you notice a profound truth. Almost everyone has walked through similar fires, and they have emerged stronger. This shared human experience can embolden you to continue facing your own pain. Finally, celebrate the transformation. When pain becomes fuel, you begin to notice how far you've come. Look back at situations that once caused you to break down and observe how you now handle them differently. Perhaps a criticism that used to cripple you now energizes you to improve. Maybe a setback that once felt like the end of the world now feels like a minor detour. Gratitude for these shifts reinforces your mental muscle. You're not defined by what hurt you, but by how you responded to it. By acknowledging and appreciating your growth, you keep the cycle of learning vibrant. Pain will inevitably arise again because life is unpredictable, but now you know how to use it. You don't avoid the forge, you step into it deliberately, knowing that every spark of discomfort is a step closer to a mind that refuses to be broken. Chapter 5. Build the power of silence and focus. In a world that never stops shouting notifications, headlines, social media updates, you're taught to speak louder just to be heard. But true mental power thrives in silence and unwavering focus. Imagine trying to hear a whisper in a crowded room. Impossible. Now imagine that whisper is your inner wisdom, and the crowded room is your continuously distracted mind. To access that wisdom, you must clear the noise. To build mental power, you need to cultivate silence not only externally, but within your own thoughts. In the spaces between distractions, clarity and strength quietly emerge. Recognize how easily you allow external sounds and internal chatter to steal your attention. You walk into a busy coffee shop and your eyes dart to every screen, overheard conversation, and flashing advertisement. Inside your head, you replay yesterday's argument, worry about tomorrow's tasks, and imagine worst-case scenarios. Your mind never rests. When focus is fractured, even simple tasks feel overwhelming and decisions become muddled. That's because mental energy leaks away every time you switch from one stimulus to another. Your brain spends extra effort reorienting it like a ship, adjusting its course over and over, rather than heading straight toward the destination. To counteract this, start by scheduling dedicated, silent sessions in your day. It could be as short as 5 minutes at first. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and simply close your eyes. Don't force your mind to be blank, that's unrealistic. Instead, notice the noise, the hum of the air conditioner, distant traffic, even the rush of your own breath. When a thought intrudes, did I send that email? Or, I forgot to buy groceries. Acknowledge it gently and let it drift away, like a leaf floating downstream. Return your awareness to your breath or to the sensation of sitting. This simple practice teaches your mind that it's okay not to be constantly stimulated. In those brief moments, you reconnect with a deeper stillness where creativity, intuition, and self-control reside. As you become comfortable with short periods of silence, gradually extend them. Perhaps move from 5 minutes to 10, then to 15. Notice the subtle shifts in your mind. The racing thoughts slow down. You feel more present. You experience a calm sense of alertness rather than mental fatigue. In this state, you begin to realize how rarely you let your mind rest in everyday life. Once you establish a habit of daily silence, you'll find that your mind is better prepared to focus when you need it most. Now, pair silence with deliberate focus by practicing single tasking. Contrary to popular belief, multitasking doesn't make you more efficient, it fractures attention. When you try to write an important email while checking messages and glancing at social media, Your brain constantly pivots between tasks. Each pivot carries a cognitive cost, a moment of reorientation where you lose both time and depth of thought. Instead, commit to one task at a time. If you're drafting that email, close all other tabs, silence your phone, and place a small reminder in front of you. Focus on this. When your mind wanders to what's happening on social media, gently redirect it back to your email. Over time, your brain learns that when you decide to focus, distractions lose their appeal. You'll enter a flow state more readily, where ideas and solutions surface with minimal effort. To strengthen this further, use brief, timed intervals, often referred to as the Pomodoro technique. Set a timer for 25 minutes of uninterrupted work on a single task, followed by a short 5-minute break. During those 25 minutes, your only focus is the task at hand. The break should be a true pause, stand up, stretch, maybe take a quick walk. Notice how even this small structure trains your mind. It knows work time means total focus, while break time means brief rest. As you practice, gradually increase the focus intervals to 30 or 45 minutes, depending on your capacity. With each session, your ability to sustain deep concentration grows, and you'll notice tasks that once felt daunting are now approachable because your mind is no longer scattering energy in 100 directions. Silence and focus also apply to your inner environment, your habitual thoughts. In moments of stress or self-doubt, your mind can become a battleground of conflicting narratives. I'm not good enough. I don't have time. I'll fail, alongside I want to try. I can learn. I'll get help. These competing thoughts drag your mental energy in opposing directions. To build true power, create mental quiet zones, deliberate pauses where you interrupt negative or irrelevant thought loops. For example, the next time you catch yourself spiraling, I can't handle this workload, stop. Take 3 deep breaths and replace the intrusive loop with a simple point of focus. What's the next actual step I can take? Maybe it's writing one sentence of your report, or sending a quick email for clarification. By directing your mind to small, actionable steps, you harness focus to dispel overwhelming thought cycles. Another powerful approach is to establish tech-free zones or tech-free times in your day. Decide that from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. you will not look at screens, not scroll through social media, not check the news. Use that hour instead to read a book, journal your thoughts, or simply sit in silence. Perhaps before bed, engage in a brief meditation or reflective practice list. 3 things you accomplished today, 3 lessons you learned, and 3 things you're grateful for. By separating yourself from the constant influx of digital noise, you give your mind the space it needs to process the day, restore energy, and prepare for the next. Over time, you'll notice that your sleep improves, your mood stabilizes, and your mind is sharper the next morning. Incorporating silence and focus into your relationships also strengthens mental power. When someone is speaking to you, give them your full attention, put down your phone, turn off the TV, and look them in the eye. Listen not to respond, but to truly understand. This practice of active listening not only deepens your connections with others, but also hones your ability to remain present. When you learn to quiet your internal dialogue in conversation, you free up mental bandwidth to discern nuances, detect genuine emotion, and respond with greater insight. Similarly, when you watch an instructional video or read a complex article, practice being fully absorbed. Resist the urge to check your phone every few seconds. Train yourself to absorb information deeply rather than superficially. The skill of deep reading or attentive listening translates directly to any area of life where focus matters. Finally, recognize that silence can be intimidating at first. Your mind may protest. "There's something I should be doing right now," or "I'm wasting time." These are simply old habits urging you to stay in constant motion. But remember, true mental power doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing what truly matters with full presence. As you become comfortable with silence, you'll discover that your mind's landscape is not empty, it's fertile. Insights, solutions, and creative breakthroughs often arise precisely in the quiet moments when you let your mind breathe. This is where genuine innovation lives. By practicing silence and cultivating unwavering focus, you free your mind from the tyranny of distraction and you open a pathway to your most powerful self. Chapter 6. Strengthen your mental endurance. Mental power isn't proven in a single moment of triumph. It's forged through repeated acts of perseverance, day after day, especially when you don't feel like it. You don't build endurance by sprinting once. You build it by showing up for miles, even when your legs ache and every fiber of your being begs you to stop. In the same way, mental endurance is not about occasional acts of willpower. It's about consistently choosing to push forward, even when doubt and fatigue press hard against you. Begin by understanding that discomfort is inevitable whenever you're growing. Your mind, like a muscle, resists change because change requires effort. Whenever you face a challenging project, a difficult conversation, or a new skill to learn, the initial impulse of your brain is to avoid discomfort, to procrastinate, to rationalize why now is not the right time, or to distract yourself with easier, more pleasant tasks. Recognize this impulse for what it is: your mind's attempt to keep you in a familiar but limited comfort zone. To strengthen mental endurance, you need to reframe discomfort as a sign that you are on the right path. When your mind screams "stop," that is often the precise moment when growth is happening. To practice building endurance, start small with deliberately chosen daily challenges, actions that push your limits just slightly. For example, take a cold shower each morning for 30 seconds longer than you think you can handle. When that icy water hits your skin, your first instinct is to retreat. Instead, breathe steadily, focus on the sensation, and remind yourself, "I'm in control of my reaction." This is training my mind to stay calm under stress. Over the days, you'll notice that what once felt unbearable now feels manageable. That lesson transfers directly into other areas of life. If you can remain composed under a cold shower's shock, you can remain composed when someone questions your abilities or when you face an unexpected obstacle. Choose a cognitive challenger piece of writing or a complex problem that you find intimidating or difficult to maintain focus on. Set aside a short, timed block, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, where you commit to working on that single task with zero interruptions. If your mind starts to wander, "I'll just check my messages quickly. I don't understand this yet." Gently bring it back. Stay with this task. Keep working, even if it's slow. After the timer goes off, acknowledge your effort. Even if you barely made progress, you demonstrated to yourself that you can remain present under discomfort. Gradually increase these intervals. Move from 20 minutes to 30, then 40, depending on your capacity. Each extension is a small act of mental training, showing your mind that endurance is possible. Another powerful way to build mental endurance is by embracing productive friction in your daily routine. Productive friction means intentionally choosing the harder route when a simpler, easier option is available. For instance, when you leave for work or start your day, resist the temptation to take the elevator if you can climb a few flights of stairs. When you feel the urge to scroll through social media for a quick dopamine hit, choose to read a chapter of a thoughtful book instead. If you normally pour your favorite coffee before completing a task, force yourself to wait until after you've finished that task. These small acts of daily resistance add up. They teach your brain that pleasure can wait and that satisfaction can emerge not only from comfort, but also from overcoming friction. Physical exercise is another cornerstone of mental endurance. When you push your body through a challenging workout, lifting heavier weights, running an extra mile, or holding a difficult yoga pose, you're not only strengthening muscles, you're also strengthening your will. The moment your muscles scream stop and you choose to take one more step or hold one more rep, you're telling your brain, I am stronger than the urge to quit. Over time, those messages accumulate, building an internal narrative that you can withstand discomfort and move forward anyway. Those same neural pathways light up when you face a late-night deadline or a tough conversation. You'll remember how you pushed past physical pain, and that confidence will help you push past mental strain too. It's important to track and celebrate incremental progress, no matter how small. Maintain a simple journal where you record one daily challenge, be it a short meditation under discomfort, a difficult conversation you initiated, or an extra 5 minutes of focused work. At the end of each week, review those entries and acknowledge the small victories. I sat through 30 seconds of ice-cold water without retreating. I spoke up in a meeting despite hesitation. I focused on writing without checking my phone. By seeing the evidence of your enduring efforts, you reinforce the belief that each act of persistence matters. This practice also helps you avoid a common pitfall, dismissing daily progress because it wasn't a big breakthrough. In reality, each moment of endurance is a building block in a larger structure of mental resilience. Another effective approach is to practice planned discomfort sessions. Choose a consistent time each week, say Saturday morning, and dedicate 20 to 30 minutes to an activity that you know will be challenging mentally. Reading a dense, complex text, working through a puzzle that stretches your logic, or attempting a creative task you've never done before. Before beginning, set a clear intention. I will stay focused on this task for the entire session, even if it feels uncomfortable. During the session, whenever you want to escape, to grab your phone, to check email, to watch a video, remind yourself that this discomfort is purposeful. You're not avoiding hardship, you're embracing it to expand your capacity. Over time, your tolerance for challenging mental work increases, and what once felt like a chore begins to feel like a stepping stone toward mastery. Develop a ritual for when you inevitably encounter setbacks. Mental endurance doesn't mean being impervious to discouragement, it means persisting through it. When a plan falls apart, a project fails, or someone criticizes you harshly, pause. Allow yourself to feel the disappointment or frustration, acknowledge it without judgment. Consider this. Every experienced athlete, entrepreneur, or artist has faced failure and rejection. What distinguishes them is not that they never felt pain, but that they used it to inform their next step. After you process the emotion, ask, what can I learn? What's the smallest forward action I can take right now? Maybe it's revising a flawed idea, seeking feedback, or simply taking a short break before returning with fresh eyes. By creating a ritual, feel, analyze, act, you ensure that setbacks become opportunities to strengthen endurance, not reasons to give up. Over time, as you incorporate these practices, cold showers, focused work intervals, productive friction, physical challenges, planned discomfort sessions, and a setback ritual, you will notice a profound shift. You'll find yourself more willing to lean into difficult tasks, to stay committed when others quit, and to maintain calm and clarity even when obstacles arise. Your mind, once skittish and resistant, grows accustomed to discomfort as a signal of growth, not a threat. That, ultimately, is the essence of mental endurance, the understanding that persistence through hardship, repeated consistently, transforms you into someone who does not fear challenges, but welcomes them as the pathway to your strongest, most resilient self. Chapter 7. Build unshakable belief. Become the root, not the leaf. True mental power is not about fleeting confidence or short-lived motivation. It's about cultivating an unshakable belief in yourself that remains constant, no matter how fierce the storm. Imagine a towering tree. Its branches and leaves sway wildly with every gust of wind, but its roots remain buried deep, anchored firmly in the earth. If the roots are strong, the tree stands tall. If they are shallow, a single storm can uproot it. In the same way, most people live like leaves drifting with each opinion, each success, each failure. In this final chapter, you will learn how to become the root, to establish a core belief so deep and steady that no external circumstance can topple you. Begin by recognizing that many beliefs you hold today were planted long ago, often by well-meaning parents, by teachers who doubted you, or by society's standards. Somewhere along the way, you internalized phrases like, "You can't do that," "You'll never make it," or "You're not smart enough." Over time, these statements took root and grew into self-limiting beliefs that shape how you see yourself and what you believe you deserve. To build unshakable belief, you must first uproot these old, negative seeds. That requires curiosity. Ask yourself where each limiting belief came from. Did a teacher once criticize your writing? Did a friend mock your idea? Trace these ideas back. Notice that most were never absolute truths. They were opinions at a moment in time. When you see them as temporary and subjective, their power over you begins to fade. Once you identify those old beliefs, replace them with new, empowering truths. But be patient. Belief doesn't change overnight. You must plant and nurture new seeds deliberately. Start by creating a list of affirmations that speak to your highest potential statements, like, "I am capable of greatness," "I learn and grow with every challenge," "My worth is inherent, not earned." Each morning, read these affirmations aloud until you feel a small shift in your mind. The sound of your own voice declaring these truths triggers your subconscious to pay attention. Immediately follow this with visualizations. Close your eyes and imagine yourself living as if these statements are already real. See yourself walking into a room with calm confidence, presenting your ideas without hesitation, recovering gracefully from setbacks. The brain cannot tell the difference between a vivid imagination and reality. By rehearsing these empowered scenarios, you begin to lay down new neural pathways that support lasting belief. However, affirmations and visualizations alone are not enough. You need evidence to strengthen that belief. Every time you take action aligned with your new identity, you gather proof that you are indeed capable. It might be as simple as completing a small task you previously avoided, sending that email you dreaded, practicing your presentation in front of a friend, or writing a page of your book each day. Each action serves as a brick, building the foundation of a new reality. When fear says, "You can't," you respond by doing something that proves otherwise. Over time, the accumulation of these moments, "I did it once, I did it again, and I can do it again," solidifies your belief in yourself. It's also essential to surround yourself with reminders of your progress. Keep a journal of wins, no matter how small. Record compliments, positive feedback, moments when you surprised yourself. When doubt creeps back in, because it will, you can flip open this evidence file and see the concrete proof of your capabilities. Likewise, choose your friendships and associations carefully. Limit time with those who continually question your potential or project their own insecurities onto you. Seek out people who bring out the best in you, who encourage your growth, and who treat your dreams as valid. Their support becomes nourishment for your roots, helping you stay grounded when outside forces push against you. Another powerful practice is to embrace failure as a natural step on the path to mastery. Even the most confident individuals stumble. What separates them is not an absence of mistakes, but how they interpret them. When you fail at something, do not let it become evidence for "I can't." Instead, view it as data. This didn't work. What can I learn? What adjustment can I make next? For example, if you launched a small project that didn't gain traction, analyze why. Was your messaging unclear? Was your timing off? Use those insights to refine your approach and try again. Every failure, when reframed, becomes fertilizer for your roots, making them stronger and more resilient. With each iteration, your belief grows firmer because you see that failure is not a verdict, but a stepping stone. Consider also the importance of a guiding purpose, an overarching why that gives meaning to your efforts. Without purpose, belief can feel hollow, like trying to hold a tree upright without soil. To find your purpose, ask yourself, what difference do I want to make? How do I want to be remembered? What legacy do I wish to leave? Your purpose need not be grandiose. It simply has to be deeply personal and motivating. It might be as straightforward as, I want to inspire my community to overcome adversity, or I want to create art that helps others heal. When your actions align with a clear purpose, your belief gains direction. Even on days when confidence wavers, your purpose acts like a magnetic north drawing you forward because the work is bigger than any single challenge. This alignment between purpose and action solidifies your roots, making them resistant to every gust of doubt. Practice the habit of self-compassion. Building unshakable belief does not mean harshly berating yourself for mistakes, nor demanding perfection at every turn. It means treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a close friend who is striving toward a goal. When a critical thought arises, I should have done better, pause and ask, would I speak to a friend that way? Almost certainly, the answer is no. So why speak to yourself that way? Instead, acknowledge your humanity. I made a mistake, and that's okay. I'll learn from it and move forward. This gentle inner dialogue nourishes your roots because it signals to your subconscious that you are worthy of growth and support, even when you stumble. Over time, the absence of harsh self-judgment prevents your roots from being eroded by self-criticism. Becoming the root, not the leaf, means that no matter how strong the winds of criticism, failure, or fear blow, you remain grounded in the knowledge of who you are and why you're here. When doubt tries to sway you, you feel the solidity of your beliefs, purpose, and evidence of past successes holding you up. You've uprooted the old toxic seeds of "you're not enough" and planted new convictions. I am capable. I am learning. I am contributing. Each day, you water those convictions with consistent action, reflection, and self-compassion. In the quiet moments when everyone else is sleeping, when the world seems still, you'll feel the steady pulse of your roots anchoring you. That pulse is your unshakable belief, whispering, no matter what happens out there, I stand firm. And from that unwavering foundation, you'll face the world not as a leaf at the mercy of the wind, but as a tree whose strength and presence guide others toward growth. This is your ultimate mental power, to know, without question, that every doubt is temporary, but your belief is permanent. Chapter 8. Sustain and amplify your mental power through consistent action. Building mental power and silencing doubt are not one-time achievements. They are lifelong practices that require continual reinforcement. In this final chapter, you will learn how to translate everything you've discovered, mastering your inner dialogue, controlling your thoughts, doubting the doubt, using pain as fuel, cultivating silence and focus, strengthening endurance, and rooting yourself in unshakable belief into daily habits that ensure your mental power not only survives, but grows stronger over time. This chapter is about moving from understanding to sustainable practice, so that mental strength becomes an integral part of who you are, not a temporary state. Recognize that every habit begins with intention. It is not enough to simply know what to do. You must decide, moment by moment, to do it. Each morning when you wake, reaffirm your commitment to mental power. Before you reach for your phone, take 3 deep breaths and say to yourself, "Today, I choose focus over distraction. Today, I choose growth over comfort." By setting this tone first thing, you anchor your mind's priority before external stimuli flood your awareness. Over time, this intentional start becomes automatic, and you begin each day aligned with your highest purpose. Next, embed micro-practices throughout your day that reinforce each of the 7 pillars you've learned. For example, carry a small notebook or use a note on your phone to record fleeting thoughts as they arise. If you catch yourself slipping into negative self-talk, "I can't do this," immediately write it down and counter it with a positive reframe. "I am capable, I learn as I go." This simple act of capturing and reframing becomes a visible reminder of how you are training your inner dialogue. When it comes to thought control, create focus anchors in your environment. Place one word, perhaps breathe or center, on a sticky note on your workspace. Every time your eyes catch that anchor, pause for a moment. Scan your mind. Are you drifting toward an unhelpful story, such as worrying about a past mistake or anticipating a future problem? If so, gently redirect your focus to the present task. Over weeks, these anchors condition your mind to check in and recalibrate whenever distraction arises. You'll notice that periods of scattered thinking shrink, replaced by clearer, more deliberate attention. To doubt the doubt consistently, set a weekly ritual of reviewing your doubt journal. Choose one day, perhaps Sunday evening, when you look back at the past week's entries. For each recorded doubtful thought, ask yourself, what did I learn by challenging this thought? How did it feel to silence that doubt and act anyway? Celebrate those moments. Seeing tangible evidence of how doubt lost its grip reminds your mind that uncertainty need not dictate your actions. In this way, you convert sporadic victories into a sustained momentum because your brain begins to expect that doubt will be met with challenge, not surrender. Pain and setbacks will arise, as they always do. To keep using pain as fuel, schedule regular reflection breaks. Once a month, set aside 30 minutes in a quiet place free from your phone or computer and consider any difficulty you faced during that period. Write down what happened, how you felt, and what lessons you can take forward. Then identify one concrete step you will take to address those lessons. For instance, if you received harsh feedback at work and felt discouraged, note how you can improve your skills or communication style. By consistently turning painful events into structured reflections followed by actionable adjustments, you inoculate yourself against falling into self-pity. Instead, hardship becomes a predictable invitation to grow. Silence and focus must also become daily rituals. Incorporate brief, mindful pauses before each meal. Before you take the first bite, close your eyes for 10 seconds. Feel the texture of your fork, the aroma of your food, and the sensation of the plate beneath your hand. Let go of any mental chatter about deadlines or social obligations. Once the pause ends, begin eating with full presence, flavors, textures, and the act of chewing. This simple practice trains your mind to shift from external noise into inner stillness multiple times throughout the day. Over weeks, you'll find that your mind naturally gravitates towards calm whenever you need clarity, because it remembers what calm feels like. Building endurance is reinforced by setting progressively challenging objectives. If you currently write for 20 minutes without distraction, push to 30. If you hold a plank for a minute, aim for 90 seconds next week. These physical landmarks serve as concrete evidence of your capacity to persevere. But don't stop at the body. Extend endurance to cognitive tasks as well. If reading a dense article exhausts you mentally, set a goal to read for 5 minutes longer tomorrow. Track your progress in a visible Weir chart on your wall, a checklist in your journal, or a habit tracker app. Each time you push a boundary, you are reminding your brain that discomfort is not a signal to stop, but an indicator that you are strengthening. This cumulative progress solidifies your identity as someone who endures, and over time, mental challenges that once felt insurmountable become manageable, even routine. Unshakable belief, the root of your mental power, must be nurtured through ongoing self-compassion and community connection. Each evening, before sleep, take 2 or 3 minutes to write down any success, no matter how small, that you experienced that day. It could be as simple as, "I spoke up in the meeting," or "I finished my work on time," or "I resisted scrolling social media." These nightly affirmations act like water and nutrients to your roots, reinforcing the story you want to live by. In addition, find at least one person who shares your commitment to growth, a friend, mentor, or coach. Schedule periodic check-ins, even if it's only 15 minutes every few weeks. Use that time to speak about challenges and victories. The supportive feedback of someone who genuinely wants you to succeed provides a mirror for your growth, reflecting back how far you've come and how strong your roots have grown. As you incorporate these practices, be vigilant against complacency. Mental power is not a destination, it's a journey that requires lifelong vigilance. Periodically assess whether you are slipping into old habits. Is your inner dialogue starting to wander? Are you drifting back into multitasking? Are you letting doubt go unchallenged? If you sense any regression, don't judge yourself harshly. Instead, return to the foundational chapters. Review the principles of disciplining your thoughts, of reframing doubt, of embracing pain, and of seeking silence. Then, recommit to the specific practice that most needs reinforcement. Maybe this week you need to focus on extending your silent meditation period. Next week, you might prioritize more challenging workouts to boost your endurance. Rotation and variation ensure that no single pillar becomes neglected. Finally, understand that mental power is contagious. As you embody these qualities, calm focus in chaos, perseverance in hardship, unshakable self-belief, others around you will notice. Family members, friends, co-workers, and even casual acquaintances pick up on that energy. When someone sees you responding calmly to stress or persisting where others capitulate, they become curious. They may ask, "How do you do it?" That question is your opportunity to share what you've learned. When you teach or mentor others in these practices, you reinforce your own habits. Explaining how to observe thoughts or how to use pain as fuel requires you to articulate principles clearly, which in turn deepens your understanding. Moreover, helping someone else build mental power creates a sense of purpose that feeds back into your own motivation. In the weeks and months ahead, commit to revisiting this chapter periodically. Mental strength is a living, breathing force that expands as you challenge it and contracts when left idle. By embedding these practices, intentional mornings, micro-practices of thought control, weekly doubt reviews, monthly pain reflections, daily mindful pauses, progressive endurance goals, and regular affirmation journaling into your life, you ensure that mental power is not a fleeting spark, but a constant flame. No matter what storms arise, stress at work, a personal setback, or global uncertainty, you will stand firm, anchored by habits that have been tested and proven. Remember, your mind is not a static muscle, it is a dynamic ecosystem. What you feed it each day, thoughts of fear or thoughts of possibility, determines its health and strength. This chapter is your blueprint for feeding your mind the right nutrients: consistent action, reflection, focus, and community. As you live by these principles, mental power becomes woven into the very fabric of your existence. Doubts may still appear from time to time, but they will no longer have the power to derail you. Instead, they will be fleeting ripples on the surface of your deep, unshakable reservoir of confidence. Continually return to these practices, and your mental power will not only endurate, will flourish, expand, and illuminate every corner of your life. You are now equipped not just to build mental power, but to live it every day. Chapter 9. The Continuous Journey. Your mind power beyond today. Up to this point, you've learned how to master your inner dialogue, control and focus your thoughts, challenge every doubt, transform pain into fuel, cultivate silence, build endurance, root yourself in unshakable belief, and establish daily habits that keep your mental power growing. Yet, even with those tools, it's essential to understand that mental strength is not a destination you arrive at. It's a lifelong expedition you commit to every single day. In this final chapter, we'll explore how to view mental power as an ever-evolving journey, one that requires reflection, adaptation, and a forward-looking mindset. Embracing this perspective ensures that your growth continues long after this video ends. 1. Embrace the process, not just the outcomes. Far too many people tie their sense of worth to specific achievements: landing a promotion, finishing a major project, or beating a personal record. While those milestones are meaningful, mental power thrives when you shift your focus from chasing isolated outcomes to committing to the process itself. The process is where real transformation lives. It's showing up for practice when you'd rather sleep in. It's choosing a moment of silence when your mind urges you to scroll social media. It's taking that extra step when your body screams rest. When you fall in love with the process, you begin to appreciate each incremental effort, regardless of the immediate reward. Your identity shifts from "I am what I achieve" to "I am who I choose to become" through daily actions. This mindset process over outcome liberates you from the tyranny of external validation and grounds you in the present moment. 2. Regularly reassess and adjust your goals. Life stages, circumstances, and priorities change. What felt like the ultimate mental challenge 6 months ago might no longer fit your current context. To keep evolving, schedule quarterly mental power check-ins. During each check-in, reflect. Review your past 3 months. What practices served you well? Where did you struggle? Which chapters resonated most deeply? Recalibrate. Identify any new stressors or opportunities. Perhaps you've started a new job, taken on caregiving responsibilities, or discovered a fresh passion project. Adjust your habits and goals accordingly. If silence sessions need to be shorter due to time constraints, shorten them and gradually rebuild. If your endurance goals were once reading for 45 minutes, but now you're comfortable at 60, set a new target. Reaffirm purpose. Revisit your core why. Does it still motivate you? Does it need refining or expanding? For instance, if your purpose was to inspire my community, you might now refine it to equip my community with tools for emotional resilience as you discover deeper needs. By treating mental power as a dynamic living pursuit, you ensure that each phase of your life is met with practices tailored to your evolving self. This flexibility prevents stagnation and keeps your inner fire burning bright. 3. Learn from diverse sources to broaden your perspective. Until now, much of your mental training has been introspective, focused on inner dialogue, self-reflection, and personal habits. To deepen your mental resilience, begin incorporating external knowledge sources that challenge and expand your worldview. Consider reading biographies. Choose individuals who overcame tremendous odds, perhaps a scientist who persisted through repeated failures, a leader who rebuilt a community after crisis, or an artist who used adversity as creative fuel. As you read, note the thought patterns, strategies, and belief systems that enabled their breakthroughs. Compare those to your own practices. What new tactics can you adapt? Engaging with contrasting philosophies. If much of your background is rooted in one school of thought, e.g., Stoic principles, expose yourself to related but distinct philosophies like Buddhist teachings on non-attachment or modern psychological research on cognitive behavior. Each perspective offers fresh insights on coping with stress, cultivating presence, and reframing challenges. Participating in mastermind groups or workshops. Join a community online or in person where people commit to self-improvement and hold each other accountable. Sharing your journey, hearing others' struggles, and collaboratively brainstorming solutions creates a rich environment for growth. These interactions remind you that you're not alone on this path, and often spark ideas you wouldn't have discovered in isolation. 4. Cultivate curiosity and a growth mindset. The most resilient minds are those that see every situation, positive or negative, as an opportunity to learn. Instead of saying, "I'm good at this," or "I'm not cut out for that," adopt the belief that abilities are developed through effort and strategy. This is the essence of a growth mindset. To foster it, ask why and how continuously. When you encounter a success, don't just celebrate, dissect it. Why did it work? How can you replicate those conditions? When you face a setback, don't self-criticize, analyze. Why did things go sideways? How can you adjust next time? Celebrate effort, not only results. Congratulate yourself for sticking to your morning silence practice, even if it started with only 3 minutes. Acknowledge the willpower it took. By valuing effort itself, you reinforce the idea that growth is found in the doing. Seek feedback as a learning tool. When someone gives constructive criticism, view it not as an attack but as a data point. Ask clarifying questions. What could I have done differently? Or, how can I improve this area? Feedback, when you approach it with curiosity, becomes a gift that accelerates your progress. 5. Guard your mental environment. Just as a gardener protects delicate seedlings from harsh winds and pests, you must safeguard your mental space from toxic influences. This doesn't mean isolating yourself, but rather being intentional about what you consume. Monitor media intake. Limit news or social media if you notice it fuels anxiety or comparison. Instead, choose sources that inform and inspire, books, podcasts, or articles that add value without inducing chronic stress. Curate your social circle. Spend less time around people who amplify negativity or doubt. Seek out those who challenge you constructively, encourage your aspirations, and share your commitment to personal growth. This doesn't mean eliminating all criticism. Healthy skepticism can be valuable, but distinguish between helpful critique and demoralizing commentary. Create physical spaces that support focus. Designate a corner of your home or office as your mental power zone. Keep it tidy, minimalist, and stocked with tools that aid your practices: comfortable cushion or chair for silent sessions, a journal for reflections, a timer for focused work intervals. When you enter that space, your brain signals itself that it's time to cultivate mental strength. 6. Adapt practices to life transitions. Major transitions: graduating from school, changing jobs, moving cities, becoming a parent, or experiencing loss, even the strongest minds. During these times, your existing routines may falter. To maintain momentum, anticipate disruption. Before a known change, like starting a new job, proactively adjust your schedule. If your early morning meditation is no longer possible, find 15 minutes in the evening. If long reading sessions aren't feasible, Break them into shorter bursts throughout the day. The goal isn't perfection, it's continuity. Utilize micro-habits. During high-stress periods, commit to just 1 minute of any practice. One deep breath pause, one line in your doubt journal, one sentence in your affirmation log. These micro-habits maintain neural connections and signal to your brain that you remain dedicated, even if time and energy are limited. Be gentle with yourself. Recognize that transitions are inherently uncomfortable. If your endurance goal of reading for an hour becomes impossible, accept that for now. Focus on shorter intervals and gradually rebuild. Self-compassion during change helps you stay grounded and avoids the trap of all or nothing thinking that can lead to abandoning the entire practice. 7. Leverage progress for collective impact. As your mental power grows, leverage it not only for personal goals but for a broader impact. Many of the practices you've learned, silence, curiosity, perseverance, translate into increased empathy, creativity, and leadership. Consider mentoring others. Share what you know with a friend, family member, or colleague who is wrestling with self-doubt or focus issues. Guiding them through just one practice, like a 5-minute daily silence, can produce transformative results in their life and reinforce your own skills. Volunteering for causes you care about. Use your increased mental resilience to serve a community project or charitable organization. The discipline you've developed enables you to tackle complex social challenges, fundraising, organizing, teaching, without being easily discouraged. Creating content or workshops. If you feel called to reach a wider audience, consider producing a short video series, writing articles, or leading a workshop on mental power. Start small. Maybe a 1-hour virtual session guiding participants through key techniques. Teaching is one of the most powerful ways to solidify your own mastery because it demands you articulate principles clearly and respond to real-time questions. 8. Cultivate long-term vision while honoring the moment. It's easy to get lost, either in an overwhelming long-term vision, someday I'll be invincible, or in the immediate moment, right now I can't even concentrate. To steer between these extremes, write a 5-year mental power manifesto. Sketch out where you'd like your mental strength to be in 5 years. Be specific. Maybe you want to lead a high-pressure project without anxiety, or write a book, or complete a personal physical challenge. Under each goal, list the practices you'll need to develop, e.g., extended endurance training, public speaking coaching, focused research sessions. Anchor to daily presence prompts. Each day, remind yourself that growth happens in the present. Use simple prompt sticky notes, phone reminders, or a quick mantra, 1 moment at a time, to steer attention back to what's happening now. Reflect. What can I do right now to feed my mental power? This dual focus, maintaining a long-term compass, while acting in the moment, ensures you're always moving forward without losing sight of the present. 9. Anticipate plateau periods and leverage them for deeper growth. Plateaus, periods where progress seems to stall, are natural in any growth journey. It might feel like you're no longer improving in your silence practice, or your endurance challenges aren't progressing. Instead of viewing plateaus as failures, reframe them as opportunities for deeper integration. During these phases, revisit foundational practices. Go back to earlier chapters. Maybe you've neglected your inner dialogue check-ins, or you skipped doubt journaling. Re-engaging with these basics often unlocks the next level of progress. Experiment with variation. If your meditation practice has plateaued at 20 minutes, try a new technique: walking meditation, guided breathwork, or mindful movement. If your endurance goals have stagnated, switch the modality: kettlebell swings instead of running, or introduce yoga holds for mental stamina. Novel challenges shake up your neural patterns and push you past the plateau. Be patient and trust the process. Growth is rarely linear. Sometimes changes happen beneath the surface. Your mind reorganizes itself quietly before a breakthrough becomes visible. Maintain faith in your practices and trust that consistent effort, even without immediate results, will eventually pay dividends. 10. Commit to lifelong learning and adaptability. The final and perhaps most crucial aspect of this continuous journey is cultivating an attitude of lifelong learning. The tools you use today may need refinement tomorrow. New research in neuroscience, psychology, and even artificial intelligence might reveal more effective methods for training your mind. To stay adaptive, read widely and regularly. Set a goal to read at least one book every 2 months on topics related to mental performance, personal development, or emerging scientific insights. Take notes on practical takeaways and experiment with integrating them into your routine. Attend workshops or conferences. Whenever possible, participate in seminars online or in person that expose you to new teachers, methodologies, and peer experiences. These events often spark fresh ideas and remind you that the journey never truly ends. Reflect and evolve. Every 6 months, revisit your mental power manifesto and evaluate whether your goals, purpose, or methods need updating. Perhaps your priorities have shifted, or you've discovered a new passion. Adjust your practices to align with who you are becoming, not who you were. Closing thoughts. Congratulations on completing this deep dive into building and sustaining mental power. You've navigated through 9 comprehensive chapters, each offering tools and strategies to transform how you think, feel, and act. Yet the most important lesson is this: mental power is not an endpoint, but a living, breathing process. It dances between moments of triumph and times of challenge, constantly calling you to adapt, reflect, and recommit. From this moment on, your mind is no longer an untrained spectator. It is a disciplined ally ready to be shaped by your choices. When tomorrow's doubts arise, because they inevitably will, remember, you have the skills to pause, question, and dismantle them. When the world grows loud, you have the capacity to create silence and focus. When pain strikes, you can wield it as fuel. When fatigue sets in, you will endure. And when storms threaten to uproot you, your deeply planted beliefs will hold firm. As you step into the days ahead, carry these chapters like stepping stones laid out before you, each one guiding you to a more powerful version of yourself. Seek not only to apply these practices in moments of crisis, but to weave them into the fabric of your everyday life. Let them inform how you greet each morning, how you navigate work and relationships, and how you respond to both victories and setbacks. Remember that building mental power is a journey shared by millions. You are never truly alone on this path. Communities of courageous learners and steadfast practitioners stand beside you, teachers from centuries past, peers on similar quests today, and those who will follow in your footsteps tomorrow. By embodying the principles you've learned, and by sharing your experiences with others, you become both beneficiary and benefactor, receiving wisdom from the collective human endeavor and contributing your unique story to inspire others. Now, take a deep breath. Feel the strength that has been building with every chapter, every practice, every moment of intention. Let the silence within reaffirm your commitment. This is only the beginning. The horizon stretches out before you, filled with challenges to overcome and growth to embrace. Step forward with confidence. Your mind's journey has no endingly, ever-expanding potential. Go forth, stay curious, stay relentless, and let your mental power illuminate both your life and the lives of those around you. Chapter 10. Amplify your impact. Mentor, lead, and create a movement. Up to now, you've learned how to build mental power for yourself, mastering your thoughts, challenging doubt, using pain as fuel, cultivating silence, strengthening endurance, anchoring in unshakable belief, and sustaining growth over time. But mental power doesn't exist in a vacuum. Its true potential is realized when you extend it beyond your personal journey and use it to inspire, lead, and uplift others. In this final chapter, we'll explore how to transform your inner strength into a catalyst for collective transformation, mentoring individuals, leading by example, and creating a movement that carries your principles forward long after any single moment has passed. 1. Recognize the ripple effect of your growth. Every step you've taken, every moment of self-doubt faced, every period of deep focus, every cold shower of controlled discomfort has ripple effects beyond your own life. Perhaps you've noticed that co-workers respond differently when you remain calm under pressure, or family members ask how you manage to stay so composed. When you shift internally, those around you begin to sense a change. They may not immediately adopt your practices, but they feel the magnetic pull of someone who thinks clearly, endures hardships gracefully, and acts with unwavering confidence. The first task in amplifying your impact is simply recognizing this ripple effect. Your growth doesn't belong only to you, it belongs to everyone who crosses your path. Whenever you catch yourself resisting change, thinking, "Why should I bother helping others? I'm still figuring things out myself," remind yourself that teaching and mentoring are part of your own mastery process. Neuroscience tells us that when you explain a concept to someone else, you reinforce the neural pathways associated with that concept in your own brain. In other words, by guiding others, you deepen your own understanding and cement your mental power more firmly. So view every interaction as a two-way street. You offer insight and support, and in return, you refine and solidify your own mastery. 2. Start small, one conversation at a time. You don't need to lead a large seminar or write a best-selling book to make a difference. Sometimes, the most powerful shifts begin with a single, honest conversation. Identify someone in your life, a friend, a colleague, a family member who is facing a challenge you've already navigated. Perhaps they're struggling with self-doubt at work, unable to maintain focus on an important project, or grappling with the fear of failure. Invite them for coffee, a walk, or even a short video call. Listen actively as they describe their struggles. Resist the urge to immediately offer solutions. Instead, reflect back what you hear. It sounds like you're feeling anxious about presenting your idea. Is that right? Empathy alone can feel transformative because it lets people know they're not alone. Once you've listened, share one or two simple practices that helped you. For example, if they're paralyzed by self-doubt, teach them how to doubt their doubt. Walk them through writing down the negative thought and countering it with evidence of past successes. If they can't focus, guide them through a short, 3-minute, mindful breathing exercise. Set a timer, close their eyes, feel each in-breath and out-breath, and notice thoughts as they arise, letting them drift away. Offer to coach them as they practice these steps once or twice. By focusing on one conversation and one practice, you give someone a tangible tool, and in doing so, you reinforce your own commitment to these principles. 3. Develop a mentoring framework. As you continue mentoring one-on-one conversations, you'll notice recurring themes, common doubts, familiar roadblocks, and similar moments of breakthrough. At that point, consider formalizing your approach by creating a simple mentoring framework. This does not have to be elaborate. It might be as straightforward as a 3-step template. Assess, empathize. Ask probing questions to understand the mentee's current mindset. What thoughts come up when you imagine tackling this challenge? Reflect back. I hear that you feel overwhelmed by X. That's understandable given why. Validate their experience. Everyone experiences doubt. Let's see how we can navigate through it. Introduce. 1. Transformative practice. Choose one habit or exercise suited to their situation. Doubt journaling, micro-focus sessions, daily silent pauses, or a simple cold exposure exercise. Explain the why. When I felt stuck, I started a nightly practice of listing 3 small wins. Not only did it shift my focus from failures to progress, but it taught me to root my identity in consistent effort rather than perfection. Provide a clear, step-by-step how. Take 5 minutes each night before bed. Write down 3 things you did that day, no matter how small: finishing a task, reaching out for help, or simply resisting scrolling social media. Check in, adjust. Schedule a follow-up in 1 week or 10 days to see how the practice is going. Ask, what felt challenging? What felt rewarding? Offer adjustments. If they struggle to find nightly wins, suggest they start with 1 win per night. If the time frame feels impossible, propose a shorter reflection, maybe just 60 seconds of silent gratitude before sleeping. Celebrate progress. Reiterate how their willingness to try is a demonstration of courage and a sign that they're actively building mental power. By using a consistent framework, you streamline your mentoring process and ensure each person you help has a clear path forward. Over time, you'll refine this template based on feedback and results, making it more potent with each iteration. 4. Lead by example in your community. Beyond individual mentorships, consider how you can model mental power in larger group settings, your workplace, your local community organizations, or online forums where like-minded people gather. Leading by example is one of the most effective ways to inspire others without uttering a single word. Here are a few ways to do that. Practice calm under pressure. When a high-stakes meeting goes off the rails, remain composed. If you catch yourself feeling tense, take a deliberate breath, perhaps even excuse yourself for a brief, silent moment. Then return, speak clearly, and redirect the group to the core issues. Others will note your poise and may adopt a similar approach next time they face stress. Prioritize micro-silence in public spaces. If you're in an open office and you reach for your phone at your desk to distract yourself, instead choose a moment of quiet. Close your eyes, feel your breath for 30 seconds, then get back to work. Colleagues observing this may wonder about your method and ask you about opening the door for you to share the benefits of silence and focus. Share occasional insights. When people face challenges like burnout, writer's block, or low morale, step forward with a concise observation. Last week, I noticed my mind racing, so I tried a 5-minute mindful break, and it helped me reset. Maybe you could try it too. Keep these insights brief and practical. Avoid lecturing. People are drawn to solutions that are simple, evidence-based, and easy to replicate. Over time, your habitual demonstration of mental power will shift the culture around you. Others will begin to see that there's a better way to work, learn, and lead based on intentional practices rather than reactive habits. 5. Create or join a peer support group. While one-on-one mentorships and modeled behavior are impactful, there's immense power in group energy. Creating or joining a peer support group, whether in person or online, amplifies everyone's progress. Here's how to structure a simple peer group focused on mental power. Define a common purpose. Gather 4-8 individuals who share a desire to strengthen their minds, friends, co-workers, or members of a local meetup. Agree on a shared goal. For instance, we want to build unshakable belief in ourselves and cultivate daily habits of focus and resilience. Establish a meeting rhythm. Choose a consistent time, perhaps every 2 weeks or monthly, where you gather for 60–90 minutes. Meetings can be in a quiet conference room, a neutral co-working space, or via video call. Use a structured agenda. Opening check-in, 10 minutes. Each person shares briefly how their practices have gone since the last meeting, wins, setbacks, and insights. Topic deep dive, 30–40 minutes. Rotate who leads a short presentation or discussion on one pillar of mental power. Maybe next time it's techniques for deep work. Then, reframing failure. Then, developing compassionate self-talk. The leader can prepare a few key points, real-life examples, or guided exercises. Group practice, 10–15 minutes. Engage in a shared activity, a short guided meditation, a silent journaling session, or a challenge prompt like, identify and reframe your top 2 doubts right now. Action commitments, 10 minutes. Each person commits to one specific practice or goal for the next period. For example, I will spend 5 minutes each morning journaling one doubt and reframing it. Closing reflection, 5 minutes. Quick round of one-sentence takeaways. Today I realized I underestimate progress, or I felt energized by hearing your stories. Maintain accountability and encouragement. Between meetings, create a shared chat on messaging apps or a private forum where members can post updates, seek advice, or share victories. Celebrate one another's milestones, whether someone completed a 30-day silent meditation streak or overcame a fear of public speaking. If someone falls off track, say they haven't practiced their focus anchors, encourage them gently, perhaps by sharing a personal anecdote of a time you similarly slipped and how you bounced back. This peer support structure leverages collective willpower and shared wisdom. When one person stumbles, others can lift them up. When one discovers a breakthrough, the entire group accelerates. 6. Document your journey to inspire others. Your story complete with doubts, struggles, breakthroughs, and triumphs, a powerful tool. By documenting it, you not only hold yourself accountable but also provide a roadmap for others to follow. Consider these methods. Journal, publicly or privately. If you're comfortable, start a blog, vlog, or social media account dedicated to your mental power journey. Share weekly reflections. This week, I noticed my inner dialogue slipping back into negative loops, so I refocused with nightly affirmations. Over time, your authentic narrative, warts and all, will resonate with those facing similar storms. If public sharing feels too vulnerable, maintain a private journal and use it as source material for occasional anonymous posts, guest articles, or simply to clarify your own thoughts. Later, you can decide if you want to reveal your identity or keep your mentoring more intimate. Create resource guides or templates. Compile short PDFs, slide decks, or simple ebooks that summarize your key practices. 5 steps to doubt journaling. A 1-week beginner's guide to micro-silence sessions, or 10 prompts for building unshakable belief. Offer these resources for free to your network or community group. Even if only a handful of people download and use them, you multiply your impact exponentially. Host workshops or webinars. Once you're confident in your mentoring framework, organize a 60–90 minute workshop, perhaps in a co-working space or via an online platform where participants learn and practice 1 or 2 core principles. For example, a silence and focus bootcamp could guide attendees through the science of distraction, teach a 2-minute breathing technique, and conclude with a 7-minute guided silent session. Encourage attendees to commit to daily practice and follow up with them afterward to hear about their experiences. By documenting and sharing, you illuminate the path for others. You make it easier for them to skip over common mistakes and accelerate their own mental power development much like hikers following a well-worn trail rather than hacking through dense underbrush. 7. Build a legacy. Train future leaders. Eventually, as you mentor several individuals and guide peer groups, you'll have a network of people who carry forward the principles you've taught. The next step is to empower some of them to mentor others, in turn creating a mentorship multiplier effect. Here's how. Identify potential mentors. Look for individuals who show passion, empathy, and consistency in their practices. They're often the ones who ask insightful questions, share their journeys openly, and show genuine interest in helping their peers. Offer mentorship training sessions. Gather these potential mentors for a workshop on how to mentor for mental power. Cover your mentoring framework, best practices for active listening, and guidance on leading small groups. Role-play scenarios such as handling a mentee stuck in despair or encouraging someone who is losing motivations so they gain confidence. Pair them with new mentees. Once they've practiced, introduce them to someone who is new to mental power work. Oversee the first few mentor-mentee meetings, offering feedback and coaching as needed. Gradually step back as they gain competence. Create a mentorship council. As multiple mentors emerge, form a council or committee that meets regular, perhaps quarterly, to share best practices, discuss challenges, and plan community events. This council ensures that the spirit of continuous improvement remains alive. It also helps mentors avoid burnout by dividing responsibilities. Someone can handle resource creation, another can coordinate events, and another can manage communications. By training future mentors, you transform a solitary practice into a living, growing ecosystem. Your influence then extends far beyond what you could achieve alone. Each mentor you cultivate reaches their own circle, and those circles eventually interconnect, creating a broad network of individuals united by the shared commitment to mental power. 8. Measure impact and iterate. To ensure your efforts are making a real difference, adopt simple metrics and feedback loops. They don't need to be complicated. Tracking qualitative shifts is just as valuable as quantitative ones. Examples include mentee progress checklists. Before beginning mentorship, ask mentees to rate themselves on scales such as self-doubt frequency, 1-10, ability to focus, 1-10, and belief in personal potential, 1-10. Revisit these ratings every month. Celebrate improvements. Your self-doubt score dropped from 8 to 5. And discuss how to address any areas where progress stagnated. Workshop and resource feedback. After each workshop or webinar, collect brief anonymous feedback. Which practice will you implement first? What felt most valuable? What would you like to see next time? Use this feedback to refine your content. If attendees struggled to complete a 5-minute silence on their own, consider offering a guided audio recording for at-home practice. Community pulse surveys. If you manage an online group or send a periodic newsletter, include short polls. Have you tried micro-silence sessions this month? On a scale of 1-10, how confident do you feel challenging self-doubt? Over time, these surveys paint a picture of overall growth and help you identify who may need extra support. Success stories and testimonials. Encourage mentees and workshop participants to share personal stories. Since I started doubt journaling, I applied for a job I thought was out of my reach, and I got an interview. Collect these anecdotes in a shared document or blog. They serve as social proof both for new participants who wonder if these practices work, and for yourself as a reminder of why you began this work. By measuring impact and iterating, you avoid stagnation and ensure your mentorship and leadership continue to evolve in relevance and effectiveness. You learn from what worked brilliantly and what fell short. constantly refining your approach. 9. Foster a culture of continuous growth. Creating a lasting movement around mental power means building a culture where growth, curiosity, and compassion are the norms. Whether in your workplace, local community, or online network, encourage these practices. Normalize vulnerability. Invite people to share their challenges openly, perhaps in a monthly growth huddle. When leaders model vulnerability, admitting, "I struggled with staying focused last week," others feel safe acknowledging their own difficulties. This transparency deepens trust and accelerates collective learning. Celebrate small wins publicly. Create a wall of wins, physical or virtual, where people post brief notes. "I completed 5 silent pauses this week." "I spoke up in a meeting despite anxiety." "I overcame a negative thought by reframing it." Public recognition fuels motivation and reminds everyone that growth is often found in small, consistent steps. Encourage cross-pollination of ideas. Rotate facilitators for group meetings so that people with different strengths excel in meditation practices, others in cognitive reframing get a chance to share their expertise. This diversity of approaches prevents the group from becoming dogmatic and ensures fresh perspectives keep the collective momentum alive. By embedding these rituals into your community, you transform mental power from a set of practices into a shared identity, a culture where every member feels responsible for their own growth and eager to support others. 10. Commit to your own next-level development. As you guide others, remember that your own journey is far from over. Just as you've helped mentees deepen their practices, seek out advanced challenges to stretch your own mental power. Explore advanced contemplative practices. Delve deeper into meditation by studying techniques such as open awareness meditation, loving kindness, metta meditation, or mindful movement practices like Tai Chi or Qigong. These methods build on basic silence work, but add dimensions of compassion, energy flow, and embodied awareness. Study neuroscience and psychology. Read emerging research on topics like neuroplasticity, habit formation, and emotional regulation. Understanding the biological underpinnings of mental power sharpens your methods. For instance, learning about how myelination in the brain strengthens through repetition can reinforce your commitment to consistent micro-practices. Engage in leadership training. Consider formal courses or certifications in coaching, leadership development, or organizational psychology. These can equip you with frameworks such as the GROW model, goal, reality, options, will, or transformational leadership principles that enhance your ability to guide groups and institutions. Challenge personal blind spots. Solicit honest feedback from trusted peers about areas where you might be unknowingly limiting your own potential, perhaps a tendency to overcommit and neglect rest, or difficulty accepting help when you need it. Use that feedback to refine your own practice and model humility and growth-minded openness. By committing to your next-level development, you demonstrate that even as a mentor and leader, you remain a perpetual student. This humility and dedication reinforce your credibility and inspire others to continue their own learning journeys. Closing. Reflections. Building mental power is a remarkable feat, but amplifying its impact, mentoring others, leading by example, fostering supportive communities, and continually refining your own practice elevates that achievement to legacy. Your influence then extends far beyond your personal sphere, touching lives you may never directly meet, and inspiring countless ripples of transformation. Remember that every conversation, every workshop, every resource you share is a seed planted in someone else's mind. Some seeds sprout quickly, while others take time, but each carries the potential to grow into something extraordinary. As you invest in others, you not only accelerate their growth, but also strengthen your own resolve and deepen your understanding. This reciprocal dynamic where giving empowers you as much as it empowers them becomes a self-sustaining engine of change. So, step into this role with confidence. Reach out to someone today and offer a simple practice. Organize a small gathering and lead a guided silence session. Document your journey transparently and invite others to walk alongside you. Train future mentors so that the movement you start continues to multiply. In doing so, you ensure that mental power is not just a personal triumph, but a beacon for entire communities. You become a force for change in a world often dominated by noise, doubt, and fleeting motivations. Instead, you champion lasting resilience, deep focus, and unwavering purpose qualities that inspire those around you to do the same. Your journey doesn't end here, it expands. Lead with compassion, teach with humility, and build a culture where mental power and silenced doubt become the foundations for collective greatness. The world needs your strength now, more than ever. Go forth and amplify your impact. You began this journey with a simple truth. Your mind is not weak, it has simply been untrained. Over the course of these 10 chapters, you've discovered how to transform that untrained mind into your most powerful ally. You learned to silence the inner critic by mastering your self-talk, and you gained the discipline to control and focus your thoughts. You found ways to doubt the doubt itself, using each fearful whisper as an invitation to grow rather than a barrier to stop you. You discovered that pain isn't a prison, but a forge, capable of refining your mental steel. In the stillness of silence, you uncovered clarity, and in sustained effort, you built endurance that no setback can shake. You rooted yourself in unshakable belief, anchoring your identity in purpose, and then learned to turn your personal growth into a movement mentoring others, leading by example, and fostering a culture of continuous learning. Now, the tools you need are in your hands and in your mind, but tools alone mean nothing without practice. The true power comes from daily action. Each moment you choose focused thought over distraction, each time you replace a limiting belief with, "I am capable," each intentional silence when the world clamors for your attention. Mental strength is not a gift given once. It is cultivated through repetition, reflection, and the willingness to face discomfort head on. When doubt knocks on your door, answer with a reframe. When pain strikes, greet it as a lesson. When chaos erupts around you, return to your breath and find the calm within. These are not one-time events, but ongoing choices that define who you become. As you move forward, remember that this script is not simply a checklist to finish and file away. It is a living guidebook you'll revisit when life feels overwhelming, when self-doubt resurfaces, or when your routine grows stale. Reread the chapters when you need a reminder of how to rebuild your inner dialogue, or when you want to deepen your silent practices. Reconnect with the practices of endurance whenever you face new challenges. Lean into your community, mentor someone else, document your own journey, and continuously refine your approach. In doing so, you ensure that mental power remains not only a part of your life, but also a beacon that guides others. Your mind's awakening has begun. Every day offers a new opportunity to build, strengthen, and share that power. As you step into tomorrow, carry this commitment: to choose growth over comfort, to cultivate silence amid noise, to transform doubt into fuel, and to root yourself so deeply in belief that no external storm can uproot you. Stand firm, act with intention, and inspire those around you by embodying the principles you've learned. In this way, your mental power will not only elevate your own life, but will ripple outward, touching families, communities, and perhaps even future generations. Go forth with resolve, for you now possess the blueprint to build your mind's power and silence every doubt for yourself and for others.